Welcome back. On today's video, I wanted to have a quick talk about job strategies for a down market. It's no surprise that today's job market is different than it has been in the past 5 years, maybe longer, excluding the short time that COVID really shut things down. We've had a hot job market, and when inflation accelerated, it was insane. There were so many job positions out there. You'd hear a lot of stories about people being able to job hop, jump around, and find new jobs that paid significantly more than their past jobs. Of course, there's also strategies or also conversations being had by other people that were on a different side of the job market, that even though the market was hot, they were not able to find jobs. I think the discussion we're going to have today will apply to both and will be beneficial to both. So the first thing I wanted to talk about is, I call it be loyal, not blind. When you're working for a company, they value loyalty, they value productivity, they value the value that an employee brings into the company. And every employee should seek to be valuable, should try to be the most valuable they can. When I worked for one of the first professional companies I worked for, I was there for 6 years. I was extremely loyal to the company. I wouldn't talk to recruiters, I wouldn't talk to other hiring managers. I just put my head down and did my job. I was a salesperson. I worked outside the office all the time. And what I found was the company was loyal to me until they weren't. They liked me until they didn't. And by that I mean, when I was doing a good job for them, they really liked me. But when it came to the point where I left the company, it was under hostile circumstances. One of my colleagues had been promoted to be my boss, and he was trying to make a name for himself within the company. I had my own faults, of course, but what it came down to is he wanted to hire one of his former employees to become my position. And after a few months of an insanely hostile work environment where I would get called and literally cussed out for about 30 minutes every day in front of my employees, it became untenable and I had to leave. Because I had not talked to other recruiters, to other hiring managers, it led to a 45-day scramble. Now, I was able to find another job. I had a good reputation in the industry. But what I found was it was harder to find a job when you don't have contacts. Makes sense, right? So by be loyal, not blind, what I mean is it's okay to talk to other hiring managers. It's okay to let them know that you're loyal to your company. But by building that network, if something does happen where you either are forced to make a change or you want to make a change, you can still have been the most loyal employee in the world, but then you have a contact connection that you're able to go out and find another job more quickly and preferably leave on your terms. So be loyal, but don't be blind. The next one is to be valuable. Be top 20% in your area, not just in a certain region, not just in a certain company, but be top 20%. Being top 20% means if people in a layoff scenario are ranking employees, you're going to be on the top and not the bottom. Generally, the people that are laid off, unless you're in a union type scenario, are the lower quality employees, the employees that maybe have been problematic, the employees that don't add as much value. That makes perfect sense. That's what's going to happen. There's a well-known business rule, the 80-20 rule, that says the top 20% of employees generate 80% of the value, and the bottom 80% generate about 20% of the value. So if you're able to be on the upper tier, if you're able to be valuable, loyal, be the employee that they want to keep around, generally you'll come out well in layoff scenarios as long as your company is financially healthy as a whole. So be top 20%. Make sure that in your department, in your division, in your region, you're top 20% so that the company wants to keep you around regardless of what they do. The next piece I would say is network. Make sure you're networking inside and outside of your company. Use tools like LinkedIn, get-togethers. Sometimes when I was doing sales, we coordinated a regional sales for all of the top competitors, not the bottom competitors. We wanted the good guys. We would network within the top competitors. We organized a couple of golf tournaments where we'd go out and play golf. Again, we're still able to be loyal to our company. We're able to network back and forth. We were able to refer business back and forth. But it also gave us significant ins with our competitors who may be able to be of great help if you're ever forced to find a new job or want to find a new job. So networking is critical. Now, there's been a lot of talk recently and a lot of articles, a lot of influencers putting information out there about job hopping. And while job hopping can lead to positive things, it can also lead to negative things. And I wanted to walk through an article that I found on Forbes site And right here, it talks about the pros and cons of job hopping. This is from July of 2023, so when the economy was still stronger than it is now, where the job market is stronger than it is now. But let's walk through a couple of different things. So first of all, it talks about the benefits and the cons. So here's a con. To an employer, and I've been in a hiring employer, a job hopper is considered a flight risk. It is, for a couple of different reasons, and we'll get into those more later. But many managers look askance at people who move around too much. Absolutely. And what does that mean, though? Does it mean if you've left a job and gone somewhere over 5 years? No, absolutely not. I had a family member that was worried that because he had had one job change in 20 years, people weren't going to look at him as favorably. And that's not the case at all. So in this article, it talks about changing jobs in less than 2 years at a single employer, or having more than 3 employers in a career history of over 5 to 10 years. So one job change in 2 years, 3 in 5 to 10 years. I'd say that's probably fairly accurate. We'll get into that a little bit more also, but these are things that the article's talking about. Now, the benefits of a job change, of course, is if it talks about if it looks like you're next in line for a pink slip, employees may go out and look for recruiters in their networks and scour job boards. And absolutely, that's what you'd expect people to do. Like I mentioned earlier, I would prefer that you look for jobs, or you look for the connections, the networking, and the opportunities prior, so that you're keeping your ears open, but you're still being loyal to your employer. That way, once something comes up, you don't have to start from scratch. Now, this talks about another benefit, and this is a reference to a white-collar job. Someone that was earning $100,000 may earn $120,000. Some of the influencers I've heard say, well, if you job hop every year or a couple times every 3 years, then you can go from 100 to 120, 150, 175. And during a hot job market, during an extremely hot economy, such as we've had over the last decade or longer, sure, that can work. But what we haven't seen in the last decade is a significant downturn that we could be facing in the near future. We'll see. So, yes, this can be a good benefit. It can be a good thing to change jobs. It can also be a detriment, and again, we'll touch base on that more later. So if you switch jobs on a regular basis, you meet new people, learn how other companies operate, enhance your skill, learn new technology, software, platforms, and gain a broader knowledge. And absolutely, as long as you are creating value for your employers and they see you as a stable employee, then you can absolutely do that. Here's a couple of downsides. It can make it harder for a person to find new employment. Now, how is that? Because up here it was talking about meeting new people and networking, all these wonderful things. So let's get into this. In my experience, when I was hiring employees, I had a couple of different things that I looked at. In a hot job market, you have less supply of employees. You have less people that you can hire and bring in to do the job. Sometimes you have to make some compromises in what your hiring criteria is. So when job hopping works, it's a hot job market, high demand, and it's infrequent. And that's probably the key, because here's the downside. When job hopping does not work is in a down market. When I would look at a resume, if I saw someone who had changed jobs multiple times in 2 years, they were automatically out. Didn't matter to me the excuses they would come up with, because yes, one time I could see happening if they had a track record before that. However, if there are multiple changes, it means there's either they're terrible at picking the company that they go to work for, or they're not telling me the truth. And maybe their companies weren't the problem, maybe they were the problem. In a down market, job hopping immediately becomes a detriment, because employers put a lot of time and effort into bringing new employees on. For us, it would take months to get someone up to speed, to understand what the job required, who their accounts were, develop new accounts for them. And this was in a sales type environment, training them on our product line and getting them to the point where we felt comfortable that they could represent the product line. That would be tens of thousands of dollars in training expenses and management helping them and having them ride with other people. Sometimes travel costs were involved to get them out with top reps, to give them the training they needed. If they do not generate a return, then we're losing money, and we have to look at hiring someone else to replace them and expend all those costs again. So in a down market, for sure, we were a lot more selective, because there were a lot more people who wanted to work for us or who needed a good position, and we offered that. Frequent hops led us to believe that people, like it mentioned in the article, or it called them a flight risk, it meant that they were probably not going to stick around with us as well. In our industry, and I know this happens in other industry as well, people became kind of a joke. We knew the people who job hopped frequently. Hiring managers talk, and people knew that there were certain people that were going to hop jobs every year. They may stick around 2 years. Generally, they were not great employees. They were not high producers. They may kind of produce on average, but if you know they're going to leave, they just became the people that no one of quality was going to hire. And that's what you don't want to become. Because as soon as you become that person who is unhireable, you lose the ability to command a higher salary. So let's go back through the steps. What I recommend in today's job market, as we're going into a more difficult economy, hopefully we'll come out of it and it puts us in a stronger position. And when I say hopefully we'll come out of it, it's just hopefully we come out of it sooner than later. But when you're working for an employer, be loyal, absolutely be loyal, but don't be blind. Talk to other competitors, be willing to network with recruiters. That's how you find out about opportunities, and you can also gain valuable information about how your competition actually operates and the challenges they face, giving you a better framework to make a good decision when and if you do change. Be loyal, not blind. Be valuable, be top 20%, be top 10%. You make more money usually if you're doing that, and you can demand a better package if you do go to another employer. Be as valuable as you can be, but make darn sure you're top 20%. And then network. Don't be afraid to network. It does a few different things for you. Of course, it gives you those connections to help you find your next job, but it also gives you critical information, again, about those other companies. You find out how they operate, who really makes decisions, if the position you're going into is something that you really want to be in, or if it's just hopping out of the frying pan and into the fire. With those steps, you should be able to build your career in an up and a down market and make decisions on your term. I hope this has been helpful to you. If it has, please give us a like. If you'd like more content like this, consider subscribing to the channel. And if you know someone who may benefit from this, please do share this video. Thanks, and we'll see you on the next one.